Hello, everybody, and welcome. I am so pleased today to introduce you to another Amicable Divorce Network member. I am joined by Claire Edwards, who is one of our attorney members from the state of Louisiana. And so we're so excited to have her and to be able to offer amicable services in that state. And so we were talking about what it is that she could present about to our group and talk about, and she came up with just the perfect topic. And it's something I'm very passionate about, and that is how to build the perfect amicable divorce team. Because I always think it's really smart, even when you're an attorney, that you need to be smart enough to admit what you don't know. And sometimes clients are so surprised to learn that attorneys are not mortgage professionals. I can't do your taxes, and I'm not a mental health professional. So we want to call in the best people for the job, and Claire's passionate about that too. Welcome, Claire. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Ms. Tracy. So I've been practicing law since 2012. I graduated from Southern Law School in Baton Rouge. I worked for the state briefly. I worked in Baton Rouge briefly, but when I got engaged in 2014, I moved to the small town of Lafayette. It is Cajun country here in Louisiana. I do have Cajun roots. I have some Bergeron Landry in my blood, but I married an Edwards who has Edwards Brulette in his blood. And when we got married, he's like, I'm not going to find a real job in any other town. We're going to stay in Lafayette. And Lafayette is very small business oriented. We have a lot of oil and gas here.
Okay.
And as a lawyer, it was much easier for me to open my own law firm than for me to go practice somewhere else or have guarantees or have state positions, which put me in this really cool position to learn how to practice family law, learn how to practice criminal defense. And then when COVID hit and I was in my house and pregnant with my second child, I realized, how do I work without courthouses being open? And so I got myself collaborative divorce trained through Texas and through Florida, and started talking with some of the other professionals in Louisiana who had been trained back in the first wave of collaborative, the 2000s. And so, and they said it didn't work, it got too expensive. And I said, well, why aren't y'all still meeting? We still need to network. Yeah. So I started a regular network. We got a little bit of collaborative divorce moving through our Louisiana legislature, and we're in 2013 or 2023, and we've been meeting collaboratively for 3 years now. So when I say that I want to talk about the multitude of professionals out there, we need to talk about those people that we need at our table with us, that we need to know their personalities to share with our clients, and that need to know that they can trust us with their particular client needs.
Exactly. I can't agree more. One of the most rewarding things about the network has been to really identify for clients who are seeking an amicable divorce the best professionals to solve their problem. I always, a client often comes to us and they're so upset about a particular issue. And for us as a professional, sometimes it's not even the first time we've heard that problem that week, so I always have to tell people, I've heard this before, we have a solution to that problem, no matter what it is. I mean, I've been doing this 21 years. I don't get too surprised anymore by things, but when you're building your perfect divorce team, how do you build it and who do you want on it?
So I build it by just paying attention to the people around me. For example, my midwife from when I had those babies, I had to call her up one day to say, hey, you are a compassionate person. You deal with women who have just given birth. I've had 3 people in my office, in my divorce office, back to back. I can pretty much tie their relationship deteriorating to them having this most recent child. Is there such thing as a therapist who helps moms after they have babies? And she said, yes, absolutely. That's a perinatal therapist, a postpartum therapist. Let me give you the name. And so I started working with that therapist and just sat down with her at lunch. And then when we started having our collaborative divorce group regularly, she came to the collaborative divorce group regularly. She brought other people from her office. She brought other people who are like-minded. Yeah. And that allows us now to be able to serve this population of very young mothers who need to talk to somebody within 1 to 2 years of having a baby about, oh, I'm not sure if I'm comfortable with my husband, with my doctor, with this child, my situation. Cool. If you're talking to a therapist, you're making the right choice once you're in the lawyer's office.
Yeah, I love that. That's very creative. And that's exactly, a very unique problem that some clients may be thinking, I'm the only person that feels this way. But when you can identify with them and say, I've heard this before. Let me direct you to this awesome professional that can help you. It helps them. It helps you build trust with them, and it potentially solves a problem. And, maybe there's no divorce. We're not advocates of divorce. We're here to help people, if it does happen, to divorce better. But if we can save a marriage, I mean, that's great. And if we can help people with their mental health, that's particularly wonderful. So who else is on your team?
Well, on the mental health note, the reason divorce attorneys need to keep them is because people are going to go on to have extra relationships. Like, this is not the end of them having relationships. So if we, as the attorney, open the door and say, hey, why don't you see a counselor now? That allows them to have a more stable future relationship. Water the bridge in the past, moving forward well. Yeah. So additional players on the team are going to include exactly what you said earlier about attorneys are not mortgage brokers. And not only that, but when selecting an attorney, clients need to be very careful about when their attorney was barred, because there have been some major federal laws that have changed over time that not all attorneys are aware of. Mm-hmm. For example, the Patriot Act from 2001 changed banking in ways that attorneys who were barred before then have no awareness of, except through their own personal banking experience.
And I'm proud to say I was not barred before 2001.
I believe it was Dodd-Frank came around in 2009 or so, and then that went on to play with the banking industry some more. And then boom, financial crash around 2008 through, it didn't really hit the South until closer to 2012. Mm-hmm. Well, I have, but not for a traditional mortgage, moved property on paper through a divorce settlement. When I do my divorce settlements, I say, and within 90 days, please sign off all documents to refinance. Please put the house on the market within 90 days. So that way, when you're going to the judge, all they're doing is enforcing your behavior of mm-hmm. whether you contacted the refi people or whether you put the house on the market. For me to be able to transfer a mortgage, I'm not regulated by federal law personally to the degree that I know how to do that expertise, but I'm also regulated by state law to handle the divorce. So that's just far too much for my head. I will explode. But if the clients are doing it through a mortgage broker, perfect. Sometimes people get scared about these finance people. They wanted to get the mortgage when they had their spouse because they had their spouse to hold their hand through the process. And now that it's just them and this divorce attorney urging them on, well, if I pair them with someone who I already know has had similar life experiences, for example, if I pair a veteran with a veteran, or a mother with a mother, or someone who just loves Louis Vuitton purses with someone who just loves Louis Vuitton shoes, they're going to want to work with that professional. They're mm-hmm. going to already have this underlying ability to work with that professional. Their transaction is going to be perfectly solid because they are 100% dealing in the right transactions and with those attorneys who can handle those transactions, rather than with a family law attorney or maybe a non-family law attorney who is just moving through the steps, and maybe not what is signed by a family court judge or a state court judge is enforceable against that mortgage company.
Yeah, don't get me started on attorneys dabbling in family law. They always want to hire a specialist. It would be like going to a foot doctor about your heart problem. So if Absolutely. You're watching this, get a specialist for your special problem. And for mortgages, we always love working with certified divorce lending professionals, if there happens to be one in your area, who have specialized knowledge to help you finance through divorce. Because a lot of times as attorneys, we might have the legal option to say, for example, you need to refinance this house within a certain amount of time, or you need to pull out equity to pay the other party. But the financing guidelines may say, no, you don't qualify for that. So to have a successful agreement, you need a match. And I don't know if somebody qualifies. So let's figure that out beforehand. So, okay, the mortgage professional, I agree, is key for that. So,
and that's just the house. Every couple has a house. So then there are these other financial instruments that so many people have, whether it's the 401k, the IRA, the Roth IRA, the pension, the Exxon pension, the Shell pension, all the different stuff, the firefighters pension, the lasers pension. That's stuff that some stuff is regulated by law. So a lot of lawyers, family law lawyers, and I'm going to get Louisiana technical for a second, are very familiar with lasers, the retirement system for state workers, or TSRL, the retirement system for teachers. Mm-hmm. When it comes to 401ks, we're back into that federal area where the feds have played with this law and left us in some murky area for how we can handle it as state practitioners. So it's important to get a wealth management advisor for what am I allowed to do with this fund? And it's important to keep both spouses' temperament even so that we're not blowing money just by paying extra taxes or paying extra penalties just because we're being intemperate.
Yeah.
So the financial professionals are allowed to tell you, oh, if you're going to break into your 401k just to be able to pay your cost of living, you're probably going to be paying on taxes and penalties also. If you take a loan out against your 401k, they are going to be able to advise you on how to better do that. I recently invited a financial professional, and she's actually a certified CFP with the divorce designation.
Mhm.
She came and sat in the same room as one of our family law judges. And the family law judge was kind of making comments in the back of the room. Oh, we don't evaluate for taxes. We don't care, because it's not, they don't have to care. The
Yeah.
tax consequences, the basis, I don't actually fully know those words, but it's got to do with basis and how much money rises or drops over time.
Mhm.
The judges, the law doesn't speak to that over here. So if we have financial professionals, they can really save a lot of money or
Mhm.
make a lot of money for the clients.
Yeah, I often find judges also don't have the bandwidth for something complicated like that. So even if you've taken the time to have accounts valued in that way and to show this one has a different tax consequence than this one, often judges are so overwhelmed, they have to move through their docket that they're just going to be like current balance, and handle it that way because it's just too much for them if they're not financially minded in particular. And I find clients sometimes just sort of don't deal with an asset properly. You touched on pensions. I find often that they're like, oh, there's a pension, don't know how much it's worth. And they just want to sweep it under the rug because it seems complicated. And you have to be like, no, this is a real asset. Let's deal with it properly. And sometimes it's a little bit of a negotiation to get them to do that. But yeah, pensions are always a sticky widget for sure.
Well, and when it's a negotiation to get them to do that, as long as they've got this team established, we, the attorney, have that bandwidth to negotiate with our client.
Mm-hmm.
If they are using us for everything, then we're probably going to fall into the same category those overexhausted judges are. So all the more reason for clients to set themselves up with the mental health professional, the real estate professional, the financial professional.
Yeah.
Are there other professionals that
people are in a particular profession for a reason? They have education, experience, and knowledge and are generally passionate about it. And so hopefully, no matter what the problem is, we can find the right professional and tool to fix it for the parties. And with the right team, we can get them a good result and they can rely upon good information moving forward with their future. Anybody else you like to have on your team?
Divorce coaches, I do want to talk about them.
Sure.
I like divorce coaches in a way that is distinct from liking counselors. Counselors are great at like life's big pictures. You walk into your counselor's office, you can talk about anything from finances to stepmoms to sister-in-laws.
Mm-hmm.
When you're working with a divorce coach, or even maybe there's a therapist who focuses on your divorce work, it's a shorter term relationship. It's maybe just a year or 2 years. It's not this whole long-term overbroad checking you for substance use, checking you for mental health, are you on your meds kind of thing. But for coaches, they can help us and help divorcing clients reach milestones, accountability, reasonable goals.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a great just pat on the back. It's a great ego boost for those persons going through the divorce process.
Yeah.
If they have that specialized awareness about what's going on.
Yeah, I think what's really interesting about a divorce coach is that usually a client goes through one divorce. Mm-hmm. And so they don't know if this is normal, if what they're feeling is normal, if what the process is normal. And a divorce coach can keep them focused, can, say, yes, this is, the discovery process, or this is what's happening, here, and really keep them focused. And also, yes, be a good teammate for an attorney to help us with that client to get to the finish line. I love that. I see coaches being underutilized. So I love that you have a coach on your team. We'll just use all the sports metaphors. So is there anybody else you want to identify as a team member?
I think those are the key ones. For mental health, a mental health professional and a coach. For financial health, a real estate professional and financial professional.
Yeah, I agree. So
well.
you've hit all of the main categories. So in Amicable Divorce Network, we have some major categories for membership. And so you have legal, you have alternate dispute resolution, financial, mortgage and real estate, coaching, and wellness. And so I think we've touched on just about all of those. And so creating a team that's custom for the needs of the parties can really help them get such a great result. And all of our members are vetted prior to membership for being experienced, resolution focused, and engaging in fair billing practices. And so we're very proud to be able to recommend other members. Thank you so much to Claire. If you're watching this and you would like to reach out to Claire or work with her, her information is in the text associated with this video. And you can also find her on the membership directory at amicableddivorcenetwork.com under Louisiana. Thank you so much, Claire.
Thank you, Tracy, for having me.